to let go of that vision of yourself and to lean into what's actually calling you is hard, but it's the best thing I've ever done. Hi friends, welcome back to Disabled in Nature, where we talk about all things that are disabled in nature, and sometimes we might even go outside. My name is Marissa, I am disabled, I have muscular dystrophy, and I am a full-time power wheelchair user. We've been doing a lot of fact-based videos for #NDEEM this month, but today I wanted to put the facts aside and tell you a little bit about my employment journey as a person with a progressive disability. I've alluded to this story many times over the course of the existence of this channel, and what better time to tell it than during Disability Employment Awareness Month. So like I said, I live with a progressive disability. It's a form of muscular dystrophy called FSHD. Over the course of my life, it has slowly weakened the muscles in my face, my upper arms and my shoulders, and then eventually my core and my legs, and I've been a power wheelchair user for about 5 years now. And I used a mobility scooter a few years before that. I feel like my career story has a unique trajectory in that while I was coming into myself as an adult and figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, I was also coming into my disability and becoming more and more disabled and needing to rely on mobility aids. And that really factors into every aspect of my life, very much including my career choices. So today I want to tell you how I went from being a zoo animal welfare researcher to doing disability advocacy work and what that journey looked like for me. Growing up, I always loved animals. I loved being outdoors. I'm the kid that would cry if you squished a bug because I was just so deeply hurt by it and so passionate about conserving and protecting other living things. So as I was coming into high school and thinking about what I wanted to do as a career, I was thinking I wanted to do something with animals, preferably doing something good to improve the lives of animals, wildlife, the planet, etc. When I was a junior in high school, I went on a visit to the Columbus Zoo. My grandmother had a friend there and they connected me so I could talk to them. Their advice was to just go get some general degree in biology and then when you graduate, go from there. And I took that advice as gospel, and so that is what I did. This took me to my undergrad where I studied in zoology and I graduated with my bachelor's degree. Before we go on, I have some specific thoughts about this career path choice for me. I think the main thing that I want to say is that when I was deciding what I wanted to do with my life, I grew up in a culture that didn't recognize disability. Even though my progressive disability is hereditary and other members of my family have it, we never really talked about it. It wasn't it was something we all knew would factor into all of our futures, but it wasn't something that we talked about. So when I was thinking about what I was going to do with my life, no one ever raised the conversation with me that I can remember of hey, maybe think about where your physical abilities will be when you get to that point where you're needing to have a full-time job and support yourself. That was never a frank conversation from my recollection that anybody had with me. My parents were always so supportive, you can do anything, you can follow your dreams. At the point that I was considering careers, I had already started to lose lower body strength. I was already having difficulties walking. I couldn't run anymore. Stairs were very, very difficult. So it was likely that I was going to continue to decline in my mobility moving forward. And I think at that point it would have been reasonable for me to have thought hey, Marissa, maybe don't pick a career path in which your main path forward is field work. Because what ended up happening was that I graduated from my undergrad degree and I was looking at all the different jobs that my peers were going into. They were going on and doing all these cool things working in the field, doing ecological research and becoming zookeepers. And I was just looking for jobs and every one of them had that pesky little line at the bottom that said must be able to lift 50 pounds or more. And a lot of them said that, needs to be able to traverse rough terrain. Not going to be me. Needs to be able to withstand adverse weather conditions. Not going to be me. I use a power wheelchair. Well, at that point I didn't, but the rain doesn't really mix well with electronics. There I was with this degree, and I went through my degree really quickly. I graduated when I was 19. So I was young, and I was still kind of in denial about what was happening to my body with regards to my disability. And I was just like, I was stuck, and it was a really difficult time for me, we'll say that. And so given that circumstance, I decided to go into zoo animal welfare research. I figured, hey, zoos are going to be a place that's always going to be relatively accessible because they have to be, because the public goes there. I got an internship doing zoo animal welfare research at the Detroit Zoo. I'm from Michigan, so that was my zoo, and they have a great animal welfare program there. I had a really good experience there, and so I was like, okay, this is something within this realm of studies and training that I have that I feel like I could move forward with, and I could do forever. No matter how much my disability progresses, I could always do this. So I pursued that, and that's what I went to graduate school for. I got a fellowship at the Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens, and I did zoo animal welfare research, and I got paid to do it. It was really cool. At this point, I'm in my early 20s. My husband and I had moved to Florida for me to go to graduate school. And I realized that living away from friends and family and everything that I'd ever known was not a great plan. Upon graduating, we decided to move home to Michigan. That put my chosen career path in a bit of a pickle because, as you can imagine, zoo animal welfare work, a rather niche field, and you have to be willing to compromise on location, which I no longer was. So there's that part of the story. The other half of this story is that while I was going through graduate school, I was becoming more disabled. I became a full-time wheelchair user during graduate school. I got more active in the online disability community during grad school. My heart and my passions really, unbeknownst to me, were shifting. So when we moved home to Michigan, my plan was to continue on in zoo animal welfare research, do a PhD in that, and then afterwards, just like hope and pray that I could get a position at the Detroit Zoo. Well, I got denied to that PhD program. And in hindsight, I really think it's one of the best things that ever happened to me because I got that denial, and then I had to have this like reckoning of like the one accessible path forward in the chosen field that I have has now been shut, closed. I can't go down that road anymore. I think that even if I had, I would have gone through that PhD program and then come out the other side, still unemployed, still where I was 5 years before, or however long it takes you to go through a PhD program. I think that would have been miserable because I don't know if you know, but PhDs are hard. There's lots of statistics involved that I truly, I never cared for. Anyway, so I was at this crossroads, and I kind of had a little bit of a reckoning. At this point, we're living back in Michigan, and okay, yeah, I will talk about her. Shortly after graduating from my undergrad, I reconnected with a friend from high school, and she had cerebral palsy and used a wheelchair, and she's really the one that introduced me to disability pride. The disability rights movement really helped me accept myself as my disability was progressing and I was needing to transfer into a wheelchair. And then right before I graduated from my master's program, she very suddenly passed away. I actually did a video about that last year. You can watch it. I'll link it over here if you want to cry with me on the internet. And so that also kind of really threw my life out of whack. Like that really threw me for a loop. So I graduated from my program and I got denied to that PhD program, and I was starting to doubt what I wanted to do with my life. And then I just kind of came to this sort of reckoning of like, I've been pursuing a path that no longer inspires me. And so I made the perhaps risky decision to, after having gone and gotten all of this education and all of this training in one path, completely switch what I wanted to do with my life. And I started applying for all kinds of jobs in disability advocacy positions. And it took a while. It took many months for someone to hire me because on paper, I was a master's level trained animal behavior scientist. Like, why would you hire me to do disability advocacy work? But someone eventually took a chance on me, and forever grateful for them. And that was only like this 3 years ago. 3 years ago right now, I was lost and unemployed and didn't know if anyone was ever going to take a chance on me in this new field that I felt that my heart was calling me to. And if that's not a lesson in just like, hang on, because you never know what your life is going to look like in 3 years, I don't know what is. Because today I've mentioned in videos in the past like 4 or 5 months that I've gotten a new job, and it's the disability advocacy job of my dreams, really. We all know my gripes with the vocational rehabilitation system. In this job, I get to help people navigate that system, and it's work that I'm really so passionate about. And I feel like for the first time, I just turned 28, and for the first time in my professional career, I feel like what I'm doing and what I want to be doing is matched. Like, I feel like this field and this work and me click so well. It's just, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I think that I always wanted to do something positive for the world. When I was younger and I was steeped in all kinds of internalized ableism and in denial about how my disability might progress as I got older, disability advocacy work is not anything I ever would have imagined myself doing. When I was entering adulthood and starting to pursue my education and my career, you would not have caught me even muttering under my breath the word disability, let alone sharing my story about it online. How far I've come, honestly. It's never too late to start over. And while my current career is nothing like I ever planned for, I feel like I'm thriving. That's what I keep telling people when they're like, how's your new job? I'm like, I'm literally thriving. Thank you for asking. And I've only been able to get here because I had the courage to start over. It takes guts, and there's a certain kind of grief associated with letting go of the life that you thought you might have, the career, the dream job that you thought you always wanted, to let go of that vision of yourself and to lean into what's actually calling you is hard, but it's the best thing I've ever done. I know for sure I wouldn't be doing this channel if I wouldn't have done that. I think the heart of it is that, yes, I had to give up my dream career because, I mean, a combination of things, but at the root of it was because it was not accessible for someone with a physical disability, and especially not someone who uses a wheelchair. And there are definitely things to be said about that, ways that the biological sciences could change to be more accessible and inviting to people with disabilities. But I think my real point in telling you this is that it's never too late to accept yourself and just like roll with it. Progressive disability and acquiring a disability later in life is hard. It has a special kind of grief journey associated with it, and it can be really hard. But I guess my point in telling this is that even if that does happen, it's not the end of the world. And in fact, it might lead you to be doing something that you love, that you never otherwise would have done. And I think if you keep moving forward with honesty and integrity to what you believe in, and what drives you, you're always gonna end up where you're supposed to be. You're always gonna end up where you belong, and if you don't feel like you belong there, keep going until you find it. I think at the core of what always drove me was that I wanted to do something good for the world. I always thought it was gonna be doing something good for animals and wildlife and the environment, but hey, now I'm doing something good for people, and it's not something I ever thought I would do, but I am absolutely thrilled that life has taken me where it has. Well, this was a nice chat. I don't know if it made any sense to you, but I enjoyed it. So thanks for watching. Follow along, subscribe for more thrilling content. This is my last Disability Employment Awareness Month video. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to post from now until the end of the year. New job stuff is still keeping me really busy, but I think things are gonna slow down after the new year. So hopefully I'll be able to pick back up a more regular video release schedule then. Let me know if there's any topics you wanna hear me talk about. I've got a long list that I need to get to, but I'm always open to hearing what you all want to see. Until next time, don't forget to get outside, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.